Welcome back to the Nutrimedical Report. And, of course, we have lots of news to cover today. I'm doing quite a bit of research. We have, of course, I want to do the most important update, of course, is the latest in Ebola. Canada's experimental Ebola vaccine, and the way it works, I've posted up the link there from CTV News. Made in Burnaby, BC. It's an adenovirus with genes that are inserted. We also have the ZMAP, developed at a company in San Diego, California, that is literally making a sera grown in tobacco leaves to create a sera or antibodies against the Ebola virus. And that's already been shipped over to Liberia, the ZMAP. They have a limited amount of doses, though, of course. They said they're going to ramp it up to 100. I heard there were actually 1,000 doses they were sending, so that's going to help. But it's primarily going to go to health professionals. And, of course, the World Health Organization is still saying something that I can find very questionable, saying that there's little risk in airplane travel of getting Ebola because it's, quote, not airborne. And I don't think that's true, because we know that the health professionals that we're talking about taking proper protection against all kinds of airborne pathogens did get infection. In fact, over 171 of the dead are physicians and nurses. So I think that should be thrown out the window. What we know is that it may not be easily airborne, but it's definitely airborne. Droplet spray, fomites we call it, which is can be bloody diarrhea, vomiting, sneezing. If someone's having a DIC, the virus is going to be in their airways, and although it may not survive on dry surfaces if it's in a droplet, it may actually exist for some hours, and sufficient amount of virus can actually cause an infection. So Korean Air suspending Kenyan flights over Ebola, so Korean Airlines, which is a little bit more proactive. That's why in their fish counters in Korea, they have radiation detectors, because they're concerned about Fukushima Daiichi radiation. And, people that are selling unethical fish that are coming from the area of Fukushima in northeastern Japan. So the Canada's Ebola vaccine recipients to be picked by the World Health Organization. So WHO, of course, are assuming the role of globalist government. We know that the treaty signed by all the nations, 183 nations up to 2006, means that the military end will be taken over by the United Nations and the World Health Organization and all the healthcare systems. So whether it's Ebola or Ebola plus some future pathogen or combination of, quote, plagues, we know that the government's basically going to use a world pandemic or pandemics, probably overlapping. I think Ebola is a test. Because it is very scary. It has 45 to 90% case fatality rate, which means those that get it, 45 to 90% die. Rod Paul made a comment about Ebola from the Business Insider, that governments deceive us and sometimes they hype things. I don't think we're going to see this next year, a horrendous outbreak of Ebola in this country, Paul said. And I tend to agree with him. I think that we're likely to see it shut down commerce in Africa. Here in America, where they have infectious disease wards, it's pretty easy to identify someone. The problem in countries where malaria is active, the symptoms for malaria and early stage Ebola are virtually identical until it gets to what's called the DIC phase, where you start bleeding and every orifice, and it goes from beyond aches and pains and severe fatigue to the terminal phases of the illness. So in countries like that, they often will go to the witch doctor, or they go to the local pharmacy and try to buy something against malaria. But if it turns out to be Ebola, they're not properly handling the bodies, they don't have the equipment to do public health. And the virus, I think, is airborne spread, so it's going to really clobber Africa. Here in the West, it's probably going to have effects, because when things shut down there, they're likely to shut down airports or other means of commerce. It's unlikely to show up on goods, but because the virus won't survive, but the people, whether they're still carrying the virus or shedding it before they get violently ill, there's a danger if they've come from any of these countries by any route, whether it's a ship or a plane. So I tell people, start taking your first line defense kit. We have an Ebola protection kit program that we put together. Our first line defense kit, which includes the defense wipes, which will kill all encapsulated viruses, the Niacin 95 masks, NutriDefense, the most powerful immune stimulant and blocker of viruses, and antioxidant, because of course there's oxidative stress that occurs. We also have the Power C Plus in our kit that will help to block the cytokine storm, because in the terminal phases of any illness, serious illness like Rocky Mountain spotted fever, swine or avian flu, or Ebola, it's the cytokine storm, the immune reaction of your body, is the primary causer of death. Also, some other news in Ukraine. The situation in Ukraine, fighting rebel officials resigns and shells fall in Donetsk. Russia still hasn't made its move, and there's now well over 2,000 dead in these, quote, break-off republics. It appears that the Ukrainian government is sending a message on the Russian convoy. The Ukrainian government sent mixed messages Wednesday about how it would deal with nearly 300 trucks. I guess it's 262 trucks is the latest number I've heard. And a Russian convoy resumes journey to the rebel-held city, so they went to a Russian city of Voronezh, which is near the Ukrainian border. And Russian convoy, by the way, these Russian convoys are manned by volunteers that are driving by people from many countries. It's not, quote, Russian. These trucks are carrying real humanitarian aid to these areas where citizens are being put in a horrible situation, and many of them are dying. I remember the kids from these countries actually had a blog a few months ago before the wars broke out to prevent this from happening so they wouldn't die. And we talked about this with Tim Alexander a couple months ago, and it's pretty horrendous that this is going on. Also, in an article we have Argentinian calls for hedge funds and debt cases and international mafia. This article is up on Reuters, and hedge funds suing Argentina over its 2002 debt default are an international mafia out to wreck the country's finances. Government said on Thursday, pumping up the rhetoric in battle is squeezing the struggling Argentinian economy. So the peso currency is at record lows, foreign reserves down more than 5% over the last year, and vast oil shale and natural gas laying underdeveloped in southern Patagonia. And of course what happens is these banks want to seize these oil shale and other resources. Argentina was the richest country in South America for many years, but the bankers managed to get in, and of course they've created this debt situation. And America supports U.S. Courts making illegal international decisions about Argentina's future. So the Organization of American States, the OAS, is completely against America and the bankers, and I think eventually it's going to have an effect where just like we talked about yesterday, many of the countries that are involved, for example, with the sanctions against Russia, Russians are just going to Ecuador and other countries, and the Ecuadorians were contacted by the ministers of Europe saying, hey, you shouldn't sell fruit to Russia, which is ridiculous, and the Ecuadorians said, we're not part of the European Union, so in other words, take a hike, we're going to sell fruit to Russia. So it's going to kill their market. So the Europeans are going to destroy their economy, trying to follow the bankers and the NATO people, which are insane. And the situation is going to get considerably worse before finally, and the UKIP party, of course, is gaining strength across Europe, which means they're going to probably kick out and eventually break up the European Union at the rate it's going. We know that biblically Europe is supposed to go through this convulsion and become a new empire. I think the only way they can do that is if there's something catastrophic that happens that's so bad that they were willing to go back into some kind of a super empire which absorbs not only Great Britain, because they have their separate pound sterling and the American dollar, but what I see happening on the short term is that Europe is heading toward disaster very, very quickly. And of course, the Germans are very ticked off at American foreign policy and spying to the CIA, so they've done everything they can to remove them. We have reports or two on Gaza, and of course, the further analysis of what happened with the United Nations schools being attacked by the Israelis. It's just insane. And the Gaza crisis, they've stopped it temporarily, but they just raised now are claiming they're going to do total control of Gaza. It's an occupied territory by the Israeli army. It's going to be literally a fully occupied prison, 25 by 11 miles, and with millions of inmates, men, women, and children. Amazing. And we tolerate it. And we support it. And it's open lines for any question, any issue. And the number 800-259-5791. Want to make a little announcement. We had a problem yesterday when the iPad and iPhone people had technical issues and were unable to get access right away. Apparently, what had happened is that they're working on today here at Genesis Network, and the problem will be solved. If anybody wants to get into the archives immediately, they need to use the download manager for their iPod or iPhone. If they don't want to put a download manager onto their device, tech should have it fixed as soon as possible. So there's apparently a download manager that allows you to access the audio. That's only for the iPad and iPhone. Apparently, for your Android and for your computer, it works fine. So I think they're rearranging the access or files. They worked perfectly fine before, but I'm not sure why, but they rearranged things somehow at Genesis. And, of course, with any tech thing, you'll get unexpected effects. So apparently, if you go and do the download manager on the GCN Live site, which is linked off of the front page top for MP3 archives, you can get that access to those files. So that should fix the problem. Let's talk about the latest products. And I want to kind of talk about some of our other affiliate products that we carry. We carry DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone sulfate, and we also carry pregnenolone. These are very important for both male and female hormones and adrenal hormone production. The pregnenolone, by the way, is made by the outer membrane of the mitochondria. We also have Enhanced for Men, which will increase male hormone production. A lumbrokinase, which is the replacement for Beloki. Our lumbrokinase is the highest possible quality. It's one step and very complementary to nattokinase. I take both that prevent both vascular issues. Most people don't realize that the multi-step in terms of vascular protection is get the right fatty acids in and Cardivite to detox, open up and stimulate nitric oxide with Cardivite and Supernox, get the right anti-inflammatories in like Cell Defense and Nutri-Defense, start taking things that are enzymatic to reduce blood viscosity that can cause formation of clots and plaque. And, of course, make sure in your diet you avoid omega-6 fatty acids, peanut oil, canola oil, soy oil, etc. And you cook with coconut oil, monounsaturated fats, and use olive oil in non-cooking situations. We also carry the zeolite, and we have the best what's called non-acid wash zeolite, which we use for detoxification of heavy metals, along with our Kilormax. I tell people Kilormax is number one, and then the zeolite. We carry also the Alamax product line, which includes Alamax cream, liquid, and the liquid, of course, is going to be equivalent to 10 drops equals one Alamax capsule, 180 milligrams. So that's where you can get a dosage for animals or for children very easily. We carry the AliMed medical grade Allicin, 450 milligrams per capsule, and also Mountain Red Velvet from New Zealand. And we have special 3-packs. The Mountain Red Velvet is, of course, we talk about it regularly on the program, is supplying 396 biomolecules and 6 growth hormone factors. We have a number of products that are from our affiliate, Jonathan, at Ecological. We carry Bladder Up, which improves bladder function, reduces hyperactivity, carnosine to stop glycation, especially for diabetics. Chromium cruciferate, probably one of the best chromiums to add to our Chromium in Minerals Plus. Cytidine, choline, allithiamine, and uridine monophosphate for increasing cholinergic pathways for memory and for motor function and reflexes. We have ellagic acid, which is in our cancer protocol. It's from the Terminella chabulia to help for DNA repair. We have ferritin, the best form of iron for iron deficiency, especially in pregnancy or someone having a blood loss or some form of iron deficiency anemia. We have forskolin, which is Coleus forskolii, excellent for hypertension, cardiac arrhythmias, and supporting peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. We have royal jelly in the form of Her Majesty's Royal Jelly. Now, it turns out royal jelly is called pantothene. It's one more step converted, and it supports energetics in your mitochondria, so it's part of mitochondrial support. We have mitocarnitine, which is a propionyl L-carnitine linked to glycine, and we have mitochondrial catalysts that contain uridine, triacetyluridine, etc. We have magnesium taurate, and mag taurate is, of course, one of the best forms of magnesium for the heart and blood vessels and brain. Tauric acid and magnesium are synergistics. We have Meniere's for Meniere's disease, which is a vertiginous disorder where you get vertigo and hearing loss. It's a very, very good formula, very simple and inexpensive. Microdose, this is actual 100 nanograms of actual growth hormone per spray, so it's homeopathic. And 5 sprays taken in the morning before exercise and at bedtime will increase your growth hormone release dramatically, along with, of course, Supernox and vibrational exercise, which releases growth hormone through the vibrational activation of the hypothalamus and pituitary. We have the Monolaurin, which is lauric acid and inosine. This actually blocks capsulated viruses. Some of the components you'll find also in my NutriDefense. We have Narival, which is acetyltyrosine, and Biopterin. This is for hypoactive depression. We use Narival when we add to BH4 Biopterin and Samethyl for depression. And of course you want the cofactors like molybdenum, which is necessary for the tryptase and pyrrolase enzymes. That's in Minerals Plus. We have Posinol, which is one of the best stabilizers of mood elevators, and anti-anxiety. We use it as a secondary after we have Calm Mind, which is myoinositol, suntheanine, L-theanine, and GABA. Recidival Hair Tonic. This is, of course, a tonic we apply to the scalp to stop male and female pattern hair baldness. And selenium cruciferate. This is, along with chromium cruciferate, developed at Johns Hopkins. It's one of the best forms of selenium for biological absorption to increase glutathione peroxidase and many selenium-dependent enzymes that are extremely important for cellular protection. We have the seroflozyme, which is a separate serratia peptidase from silkworm. And we have a combined in a formula that's called Inflamex, which is the old Wolbenzyme N formula with serapeptase. So these are very good for turning off interfascial adhesions, stopping joint inflammation, and stripping the capsule off of tumors. So we may use seroflozyme along with Inflamex as one of the treatments for supporting natural therapy against cancer. We have Spilkes, which is the anxiolytic muscle relaxant, magnesium calcium taurate, and Sphingolin. We use this particularly in peripheral myelin disorders such as MS, dysmyelination. And Sphingolin is a myelin-basic protein. It actually helps to shut off the immune system attacking MS and reduce attacks. Swedish flower pollen. This is for reducing bladder irritability. It's a natural alpha-1 blocker. Synaptin. This is in addition, if you need to add anything in addition to Cognition Plus and Brain Power, Synaptin is an excellent formula. Our nerve and memory booster. And of course we have the Uridine 300, which we talk about increases cholinergic pathways for memory. So if you're trying to improve your memory, start off with Cognition Plus first, Brain Power, and then add the triad of allothymine or ultrathymine B1, Uridine 300, monophosphate, and the CDP or cytidine choline. And of course we have the mitochondrial support Uridine. So we have mitocarnitine, which is the glycine propionylcarnitine mitochondrial catalyst. So those formulas are all through our affiliate, Sir Jonathan. And then, of course, we have Indiamese, which is the amazing anti-aging, telomere lengthening mineral support for chaperoning minerals into your cells, indium. The silver bullet, we call it. And we have specials on with indium. It's one of the most important things for life extension you can take every day. We'll be back in just a moment. Expanding on explaining some of the other powerful nutraceuticals that I've collected over the years or developed, contacted healthcare providers around the world for the top nutraceuticals, and these are amazing. Indiamese, for example, a lot of research has shown that indium is present in the diets of the longest lived people on Earth. They have longer telomeres, they end up with less free radical load, and the most important thing is it's a chaperone to bring minerals into the cell. Minerals are the primary key to activate epigenetically, turning on the genes to protect the cells and stop or slow down dramatically the aging process or cell senescence. So indium, the anti-aging silver bullet. We also have specials on Cardivite all the time. Cardivite is very important. It's one of the products that I take every day religiously. We have the liquid and the capsule form. Cardivite is an amazing nutraceutical in terms of activating nitric oxide, removing heavy metals and toxic chemicals, improving perfusion, and also reducing the toxic load of things like bisphenol A in the body. When you take Cardivite, what people notice is their brain works better, they recover quicker from sports activity, they don't get cramps as often, and if they're taking magnesium and other nutraceuticals, the cramps go away completely. So, Cardivite is the tonic for life, we call it. And we, of course, have the Lumen Photon technology we've talked about many times, Lumen for light therapy. Magna Soothe, we have, of course, to carry the Magna Charge, magnesium oil, the Magna Smooth cream, which is, of course, the Magna Smooth contains arnica montana, and we have the Magna Soothe soap as well. So the magnesium soap is amazing. So these are remarkable nutraceuticals, and they will help dramatically reduce the inflammation in the body, increased mineralization with magnesium, and 77 other minerals. We have, of course, the QRMA, Quantitative Resonant Magnetic Analysis, and I will do analysis only on those people that purchase machines from us, because I know that they're the only certified machines manufactured by the inventors. We also have the bioplasma NLS from the Russian Space Agency. I'm looking at a detoxification device, which we'll be adding, and also a magnetic field energizer device, which we've been doing some research on. We'll be bringing one of the research engineers from Shanghai, China, that's been working on the QRMA manufacturing there, and developed by Dr. Yu Zhang, who actually was at MIT, developed the technology for automating if you want to call it, quantitative resonant analysis. It's pretty amazing, and it is very accurate. We have, of course, the Vibra Slim technology, which is a modular type of vibrational unit. It's excellent price, including the shipping. We carry also the vibrational superstore, what we do through Ed Brown, which includes so many different types of vibrational technology. My favorite are, of course, the Vibra Core 3000 and 5000, which are triplanar, tri-motion. One step above that, the Vibra Core 1000 is very equivalent in technology to the Vibra Slim technology. We have the ProLine infrared saunas, which are a deep penetrating infrared sauna for detoxification. That's zero electromagnetic pollution, which is very unique. We have Soma Pulse, which is a pulse magnetic field that stimulates stem cells up to 400%. I just had a recent consultation with a gentleman who's going to be using that to augment his natural therapy to fight cancer. He uses that along with other technologies. He'll be receiving this therapy, by the way, along with his nutraceuticals being shipped to him in Asia. We have the Ready Store, which has not only a lot of the best emergency food equipment, but also medical and survival supplies. It's probably one of the top prepper stores in America. And then we have, of course, PrepareWise Foods, which I consider has the largest portions in Mylar bags, the largest number of different entrees. So PrepareWise Foods are my top recommendation for food supplies. We have, of course, the Turtle Tough shelters, food water shelters. Turtle Tough shelters are the best shelters you can get. They're geodesic type, lightweight aircraft aluminum shelter, 24 to 26 feet, 8 to 9 feet high, and they're probably the best price for what you can get, and they're certainly better than an RV, easier to move, easier to set up, and will withstand higher wind forces than pretty well any building. Because of the shape, they also can tolerate snow, rain, and they contain flooring so they prevent water from coming in. They're can be insulated. You can have them set up as greenhouses. You can actually connect them as form a whole community. So the Turtle Tough shelters are what I call top notch. Now let's get into some of our nutraceuticals as well now to explain how we do some of the things. And I'm going to start from Z to A. One of the things we talked about this morning was a gentleman with prostate cancer on a consultation, and he's battling it, and he doesn't want to do conventional therapies. The conventional therapies you can do with it is vascular sparing cryotherapy, which is to freeze it, or local, if you want to call it microwave radiation to try to destroy the tumor. And it's actually just a small probe, so it doesn't destroy the surrounding tissue. The vascular sparing surgery, you have to be very careful so that you don't disrupt bowel and bladder control. Many people have gone through the non-vascular sparing surgery and lost bowel and bladder control here in North America. And it's estimated in the last decade 1.5 million Americans had unnecessary surgery and lost control of their bowel and bladder and inability to have erections, which is pretty stupid. Xenoestrogen Detox and Vision Max, which is also for the prostate, we recommend along with to prevent toxic overload of heavy metals. We recommend, of course, the Xenoestrogen Detox along with NutriDefense. To remove heavy metals, the Keylor Max and our non-acid washed liquid Ultra Zeolite. We have, of course, Vitamineral Max and Minerals Plus. These are very unique multivitamin minerals because they're all in the end stage activated form. No other vitamin company in the world or nutritional company has every single vitamin in its final activated state and tracks amino acid chelates of all the minerals. They'll have combinations of minerals, they say, mined from the depths of some desert in Utah or somewhere else, but that's going to contain heavy metals. So don't do it. We have Vein-Away, and this is a remarkable product. We have an exclusive contract with the people that make Vein-Away for us in Europe. And Vein-Away will reverse vascular disease. It protects your arteries and veins, vessels in the back of the eye, prevents neovascularization even in tumors. So we use it even in our people with cancer because it'll help stop the vascular endothelial growth factor that can be generated by tumors. You can actually measure it in their blood, and it'll block that. It also blocks the insulin associated formation of fragile vessels in the back of the eye that can rupture under the Bruch's membrane. So it's very important. So Vein-Away stops not only varicose veins, deep vein thrombosis. It helps to stop plaque formation, along with nutraceuticals like our NutriDefense, Cell Defense, which is our curcumin, and our enzymes nattokinase and lumbrokinase. So these are very important, along with the essential fatty acids like Omega Supreme Krill, which is the only one with astaxanthin, Omega Cod Liver Liquid, and Omega 369. These are the top omega fatty acids and essential fatty acids in the world. We have phospholipids too for the brain, DHA, which is neurogen, stimulates new brain cells, NutriPhos, rebuilding cell membranes, which are 75% phospholipids. We have, of course, the SuperNox, which is the best thing for inducible nitric oxide for your blood vessels. Also, we use it, as I say, the natural form of Viagra. It releases nitric oxide, along with, of course, Men's Max, Hormone Synergy, and Enhanced for Men. So there's no reason to take, quote, hormone replacement. And Hormone Synergy will prevent you from converting excess male hormone. If you've been using these things like gels and so on, it'll prevent it from being converted to female hormone, because your fatty tissues can do that. Adipose tissue, white fat, will convert male hormone to female and female to male. We have Semethyl, and I take a sachet every morning. It's amazing for detox from chemicals, heavy metals. It methylates heavy metals. It formates the digestive enzymes. It forms the myelin sheath around your nerves. There's so many things that methylation is involved with. It's extremely important for neurotransmitter and for depression, for energetics. We have the radiation protocol, includes Nutridyne to block radioiodine, Nutritrala, long-acting alpha-lipoic acid, NutriDefense, Power C+, and of course the NIOSH N95 masks. As I mentioned before, Prostate Flow, the best formula for protecting your urine flow and protecting your prostate from prostate cancer. If you want to have a PSA that's slightly high, start taking the Xenoestrogen Detox, the Vision Max, and most importantly, Prostate Flow, and you're going to start to heal your prostate before it turns into cancer or obstruction from benign enlargement. Come back to the Nutrimedical report, and we were talking about some of our amazing nutraceuticals. We mentioned Regenerex, which is going to be a combination formula of some of our best nutraceuticals to genetically activate protective enzymes in your body. The NRF2 pathway, superoxide dismutase, the copper zinc SOD, glutathione peroxidase, and Regenerex. The big three are Cell Detox, Glutathione, Nutritrala, long-acting alpha-lipoic acid, and Regenerex. We have Semethyl, the very best form of S-adenosylmethionine in the world, 77% SS isomer, optical isomer, which is the highest percentage ever. Most are around 40%. And we have also 600 milligrams of trimethylglycine. It's in a nitrogen sachet because it's very reactive. If you put it in fluid and drink it immediately, or I prefer to actually just put it in my mouth because it's lemon flavor. It tastes great. Just make sure you don't breathe it. The powder, you don't want to breathe the powder. But if you put it directly under your tongue and leave it there for, say, 10 minutes, I often do that with my vitamin B12, the Power Methyl B12. Superfolate, we have the 1,000 microgram 5-methyl hydrofolate. And 1/4 of the population in the world has a methylfolate SNP or polymorphism, so they can't convert folic acid. So even if they have recommendations to have 800 milligrams of folic acid, or 1,000, let's say, to prevent pregnancy and neural tube defects, 1/4 of the population is a SNP, but the rest of the world has dioxins and dibenzofurans and other methylfolate blockade enzymes called the 5-methylfolate reductase. So you want to get the activated form. So we have BioLVR, which contains vitamin B6, very important. It's depleted by alcohol. It's very necessary to convert and make the tryptophan into serotonin and melatonin. So if you have B6 deficiencies, BioLVR is our first step. Second is, of course, superfolate and Power Methyl B12. So these are extremely important. We have, of course, the SuperNox, which is the best form of nitric oxide stimulation. It has actinose and other components that are not like just straight arginine. So it stimulates only the inducible nitric oxide. It doesn't produce nitroperoxy radical, which if you just take straight arginine amino acids, you can induce problems. We have Tendon Mender, and this is a very unique formula. We have an exclusive contract on it. Tendon Mender will literally take the tenocytes or the modified fibroblasts, whether it's carpal tunnel, cubital tunnel syndrome, tarsal tunnel in your foot, tendinitis, capsulitis, say, of the tendons or the capsules of, say, the menisci in your knee. If you've got a partial inflammation or partial tear, it'll help to speed the recovery and healing. We use that with our joint performance, the best way to regenerating joints, along with Collagen Max, Mountain Red Velvet. And, of course, we have the ultrathymine B1. It's the other lipid-soluble B1. B1 is very important for normalizing mitochondrial energetics, reducing, improving mitochondrial energetics, especially in heart muscle, blood vessels, and brain. Ultrathymine B1 will also reverse neuropathy, along with other neuropathic formulas such as Nutrimedical. Vein-Away, we mentioned earlier, Vein-Away is going to help stop the damage to glomeruli if you're diabetic or non-diabetic. If you've had vascular problems like arterial or venous problems like vasculitis or lymphangitis. In fact, we've had some recent consults where we've even used Vein-Away in people's pets, including large pets, such as horses. Vision Max, we mentioned, is not only to protect your vision, but also the prostate in males. It's basically the same components. And, of course, we mentioned Vitamin Mineral Max and Minerals Plus. Now, what we're doing is I'm upgrading all of the products. It'll have a blog, usually anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, explaining the product, and then we'll be embedding also live stream blogs on each of the wellness protocols, with also more advanced recommendations on both conventional and functional medical testing. I provide free consults to health providers and to customers anywhere in the world. And, of course, at some point I'm going to get overwhelmed, but I try to provide as many as I can. The challenges of new conditions and new issues in countries around the world is good, because it allows me to have more access to international clinics that can integrate with us. We have doctors, of course, in our Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine, Environmental Medicine, and Advancement in Medicine, not only in America but around the world. And these academies are very important, because I tell people, do not expect to get the proper care from a conventional non-alternative trained doctor that's trained in functional medicine, where you measure these things and actually fix the underlying problem. You're not going to get the care. You're going to get a prescription pad. You're going to get unnecessary surgery in many cases. In fact, even the American Medical Association has agreed that 1/3 of surgery is unnecessary, although I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's very excellent things that medicine does. So that a lot of time, in fact, I find the conventional doctors, and this is medical legal, don't do the proper investigation. I just did a consult this morning with a gentleman with prostate cancer. He happened to be in Shanghai, China, and it turns out that they didn't do the proper baseline testing, which is a spiral CT scan or MRI scan with special weighted radiomagnetic dye, and then within 48 hours a positron emission tomographic scan to see if there's, outside the glycerin capsule, if there's a spread. And then if you do an ultrasound transrectally, you do a needle biopsy and a karyotype analysis on it with scanning electron microscopy read by a pathologist that's an expert in prostate cancer. You can also measure the free and combined PSA, which is far more accurate than the regular PSA, because it'll tell if it's benign enlargement or if it's cancerous. So a lot of the time the tumors are in sites where they're remote from the regular palpation by a transrectal, rectal examination. If you see gross asymmetry of the prostate, it may be a benign tumor or lump, but the only way to tell is a transrectal ultrasound. That's just one example of how even the conventional things are not being done right. The doctors also, if they do a treadmill stress test, they'll pick up probably 75% of people that have coronary artery disease. Most people don't realize that coronary artery disease starts off with spasms years before you ever have a heart attack. It's all related to inadequate and inefficient fatty acid metabolism in the artery wall, lack of nitric oxide, and increased blood viscosity, and oxidized cholesterol and fatty acids that form plaque. We know the exact process that causes it. And I remember when I mentioned this to Dr. Roger Damley, who was sharing an office, he's an invasive cardiologist back in '97 in Colorado at the Swedish Hospital Medical Center. He said, "You're going to ruin our business," because he realized that I was looking at the basic science of what causes plaque, because he's doing angiography every Thursday. Wednesday was his golf day. And I said, when we solve the problem, we'll give people things that will fix it. And that'll be a convergence of things in the future, which will be expanded nutraceutical use, functional medicine testing, some genetic things which we can do, like genes that actually fix metabolic processes that are fulcrum issues in terms of many illnesses, like diabetes, heart disease, and dementia, etc. And we already have some of these available. There's a experimental test now, treatment that's one shot. They call it a vaccine, but it's not. And it will take away, in people with this lipid disorder problem, 90% of their risk of a heart attack. So now you obviously need to have a diet and lifestyle. You can't just eat garbage and take, get gene shots and think you're going to be fine. You can't eat, McDonald's food and garbage and figure you're going to be healthy. So our whole culture is very wrong-headed in terms of what it thinks it can do and get away with. So when you look at the expanding list of nutraceuticals and technology, we have things like mild hyperbaric oxygen, pulse light and pulse magnetic field detoxification therapy. We want you to be your own health professional. We want you to find out that the basic treatments for cancer is you have surviving cells that if you make them alkaline, oxygenate them, expose them to high energy therapy such as somopulse and lumen photon, cancer cells don't like that. They'll either convert back to normal or they'll commit apoptosis or suicide. And if you amp up their apoptosis induction with ellagic acid and malignant block at high dosages, you use high dose Power C with full vitamin K2, minoquinone 7, you make cancer cells commit programmed cell death through apoptosis. So a lot of our approaches to cancer therapy should be gene-based, broad and metabolic-based, the same way with chronic lung diseases. We don't approach, for example, a lot of the causes of what people are developing with heart disease, whether it's left-sided, right-sided heart failure, chronic lung changes, pulmonary hypertension. We don't look at the basic science of what's happening in an individual patient. We just pop them through a whole pile of drugs. And if their numbers improve, we think we've, quote, cured them, but we really are just playing with their disease while they deteriorate. And there's a better way, which is integrating the best of medicine, the best of functional medicine. That's why we call Nutrimedical being nutrition and medicine together. Scientifically, this is not alternative medicine. This is medicine as it should be practiced in the 21st century. Imaging, genetics, organic acids, best nutraceuticals, the best lifestyle and diet, clean water, air, and technologies to express your genetic heritage. The good genes, not the bad ones. Back in a moment with hour number 2. Don't miss it. Hour 3, Tim Alexander, Chris Harris, and I'll be a guest in hour 2 tonight with a major story on Fukushima.